Hey everyone, Diavolo here, and in today's video we're going to be going over the most intense arc of Tokyo Revengers yet. So many insane things happen throughout this arc that it's actually hard to put a finger on what my favourite moment could possibly be. This arc honestly ends on such a climactic point and leaves you wondering what could possibly come next. This here is the Tenjiku arc. But just before we get into today's video, if you do enjoy my content and want to keep up to date with the latest Tokyo Revengers and just other anime content in general, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and also be sure to leave a like on the video, as it really helps out with the algorithm and pushes my stuff to a bunch of new amazing people. Also, if you aren't fully caught up on the Tokyo Revengers story, then be sure to check out my video on the entire Tokyo Revengers story explained, as it explains the entire story and even contains this specific video. I just wanted to break that video down into a 3-part series for people who are just specifically keen to watch those later arcs. But anyway, enough of that, crack open a Coke, sit back and relax, as this is going to be one absolutely jam-packed video. Emma's mother tells her that she has to go somewhere far away and leaves Emma at her grandfather's house. This was the last time Emma ever saw her mother. As Emma watches her grandfather's martial arts class, Shinichiro walks by and compliments Baji on his fighting skills. Baji says that Emma sounds like a foreigner's name, which Mikey agrees. Baji then dubs himself as Ed, short for Edward, to match Emma's foreign name, and Mikey, Sano at the time, dubs himself Mikey, short for Michael. They run around the dojo, playing and joking around. In the midst of this, Emma admits aloud that she knows her mother hates her, as it is why she abandoned her. Even though she knows this, she cannot stop herself from missing her. In the present, Emma reflects that she has never felt lonely from that time on. Smiling, she walks towards Draken, who has been waiting for her outside. Somewhere else, Takuya remarks that he has to use the restroom as his stomach hurts. Akun says that he has to go as well. Just as Yamagishi tells Shifuyu that they got jumped by another gang, the same gang members exit a train in front of Takamichi. Bringing out a beaten Akun, they ask him if Takamichi is a Toman member as well. One of the gang members tells Takamichi that he will become their 5th Toman victim. Before he can begin his assault, Shifuyu runs up and kicks him, saving Takamichi. He tells Takamichi to run. Before long, Shifuyu is knocked out by a gang member who declares that they will slaughter Toman. When Akun regains consciousness, he reveals that there are 300 Tenjiku members in Tokyo. Takamichi realizes Shifuyu will be in trouble. He tells Akun and the others to go to Toman's hideout, while he goes to help Shifuyu. As he runs, hoping for Shifuyu's safety, he is ambushed by Tenjiku. Suddenly, Akun appears, kicking one of Takamichi's attackers. In surprise, Takamichi realizes that Akun, Yamagashi, and Makoto followed him. They tell Takamichi that they will help him, as he is their captain. Though they fight earnestly, they are outnumbered and overpowered. A Tenjiku member acclaims their victory. As he lies on the ground exhausted, Takamichi wonders about the motive and origin of Tenjiku, as he has never heard or encountered them before. From the crowd of Tenjiku members, Kisaki steps forward, approaching Takamichi. He speculates that Takamichi has no idea what's going on, and announces that the beginning of the Kanto uprising is beginning. Kisaki announces to Takamichi that he is now the general staff officer of Tenjiku, a Yokohama gang. As the Tenjiku members surround Takamichi and his friends, 2 bikes suddenly arrive, mowing down the panicked group. On one of the bikes, someone who Takamichi recognizes as Smiley, the 4th Division captain, arrives with an unconscious Takuya. Takamichi is confused until Smiley pulls him up onto the bike. Yamagishi explains that Smiley has a twin nicknamed Angry, who is the vice captain of the 4th Division. The twins take Shifuyu and Takamichi to raid Yokohama to counterattack Tenjiku. After they notice 2 Tenjiku members, Smiley and Angry prepare to gather information about Tenjiku's hideout from them. Takamichi remarks that their method of gathering information is more like torture. Takamichi tells Shifuyu that he met Kisaki, who joined Tenjiku, and he now believes that Kisaki's goal is to create a Toman that is convenient for him, coming from the future to achieve his goal. If Kisaki is a time leaper, he is now desperate, as he was killed by Mikey in the future and can no longer return until he can change the future. However, Shifuyu says that they have to find out if Kisaki is truly a time leaper. Takemichi, Shifuyu, Smiley, and Angry find Tenjiku's hideout in a warehouse where a great number of Tenjiku members are waiting for them. They realize that they have been led into a trap. A Tenjiku member steps forward, indicating that they have been waiting. When Takemichi asks the leader of the group how many Tenjiku members they are facing, he replies that there are 100. Unexpectedly, he orders all of them to leave. The Tenjiku member introduces himself as Kikucho, one of Tenjiku's big four, and Smiley swings a punch. Just before Smiley gains the upper hand, Kikucho grins. Smiley knocks down Kikucho by diving at him with his legs outstretched. As Kikucho lies on the ground, Smiley tells him that he is as strong as he expected Taiju's big four to be. As the group prepares to go back to Tokyo, Takemichi says that Kikucho seems familiar. Takemichi realizes that Kikucho was his elementary school friend. Takemichi tells Kikucho he has not changed at all and still picks fights, in which Kikucho responds that Takemichi has not changed either, calling him his hero. He tells Takemichi that he has devoted himself to Izana Kudokawa now, Tenjiku's boss. In essence, he is now enemies with Takemichi. Later, at Toman's emergency meeting, Takemichi continues to ponder Kisaki's role. Draken announces the commencement of the meeting. Toman members were attacked in various parts of Tokyo, all by Tenjiku members. The first division is called up to explain their experience, with Shifuyu explaining that the group who attacked them was called Team Mochizuki. Mitsuya disputes Mochi's role as Tenjiku's main force, telling them that the Hatani brothers were also part of Tenjiku. Draken adds that the other Toman members were also attacked by Shion Madarame. These delinquents are all part of the infamous S62 generation, a generation with significantly brutal and powerful delinquents. Mike and Draken deduce that because the S62 generation would not usually team up, they must have deep connections with Toman. Mikey pledges to fight against Tenjiku and plans to invade Yokohama. Arriving at Tachibana's door, Takemichi vows to go back as many times as it takes to change the future. Just then, Hina arrives home asking if Takemichi has been fighting again. As he looks back to the time he swore to save Hina, Takemichi smiles, saying he keeps on losing. After Takemichi informs Naoto of his suspicions of Kisaki's time-leaping abilities, Naoto says that Kisaki must be killed, as killing him is the only way to ensure a good future. Unexpectedly, Naoto then says he is joking. Naoto explains that Izana is now one of Toman's top members, a former leader of the Black Dragons. As Naoto plans to investigate Izana through the police network, Takemichi decides to investigate as well. Takemichi ends up going to the church where the Christmas conflict took place. A man in a neighboring pew asks him to be quiet and continues his prayer. This person turns out to be Taiju, who reveals that Hakai has passed away. He tells Takemichi that the old members of Toman are all dead. As he has found a survivor that may give information about Toman's past, Takemichi requests to talk to Taiju about Izana and the Black Dragons. Takemichi introduces Naoto to Taiju. Taiju brings them to his restaurant and tells them that although he has no intention of collaborating with police, he has a connection with Toman because of his brother. Takemichi asks why Izana joined Toman after becoming the leader of the Black Dragons, in which Taiju tells him that he has the order wrong. He reveals that Shinichiro Sano founded the Black Dragons, and each generation flourished until Izana became the 8th generation leader. Because of this, Izana is older than Taiju, as he is part of the S62 generation, like the others in Tenjiku. As he realizes that Kisaki made his own way back into Toman, Takemichi is confused, as Kisaki is dead in the future. Taiju asks if Kisaki is verifiably dead, which prompts Naoto to reveal that Izana used his influence over the police to fake Kisaki's death. Because Mikey is dead and Kisaki is overseas, Izana is effectively Toman's leader. Just then, Koko enters along with Inupi and numerous gang members. Inupi reveals that they are there to abduct all 3 of them on the order of Izana. Taiju tells Takemichi and Naoto to escape through the back, asking Naoto to investigate Hakai's death. As he and Naoto run along an alleyway, Takemichi thinks about what Taiju said to Inupi and Koko. Suddenly, he is face to face with the barrel of a gun, pointed by Kisaki. As Kisaki orders Takemichi to die, Naoto suddenly shoves Takemichi out of the line of sight of fire, sustaining the bullet himself. As Takemichi cradles a gravely wounded Naoto, Kisaki remarks on the carelessness of Naoto's attempt to save Takemichi. Izana tells Takemichi and Naoto that they killed his Mikey, leaving Takemichi confused. He then orders Kikucho to kill Takemichi. As he lays on the ground dying after being shot, Takemichi apologizes to Naoto. Naoto recollects that when they first met, he was filled with despair, not wanting to put all his trust in someone as pathetic as Takemichi. He was dumbfounded as to why Hina would fall in love with him. But after witnessing Takemichi's numerous failures, he believes Takemichi is a hero, never giving up regardless. As he reaches out for what he considers their last handshake, he tells Takemichi he is proud of them. With both of them tearing up, Naoto remarks that death is terrifying. As they clasp hands, Takemichi swears to not let their handshake be the last, believing that he will never give up. After his time leap, Takemichi rushes to the Tachibana household. He meets Naoto outside and desperately shakes his hand. However, Takemichi shakes his hand to no avail. He cannot time leap to the future, meaning that his trigger in the future, Naoto, is currently dead. Grief-stricken, Takemichi sits at the bottom of a playground slide. He concludes that he will always fail, declaring he is better off dead. Suddenly, Hina appears behind him on the slide, bumping into him gently. She tells Takemichi that she loves him. He realizes that he mistook her shadow for Naoto's, and she has heard everything that he has just said. Hina asks Takemichi's actual age, and he replies that he is 26. She says that she will only ask one more question. Has Takemichi proposed to her in the future? Takemichi admits that he has not yet, but he blurts out that he thinks it would be nice if they got married. Much to his own shock, when Hina asks if that served as a proposal, Takemichi answers yes. Hina responds that she can now die happy. With his motivation renewed, Takemichi deduces that the enemy is Izana Kurokawa. Takemichi decides his present goal is to find out why Mikey will trust Izana. At the Sano household, Mikey arrives and Takemichi explains that the leader of Tenjiku is a person named Izana Kurokawa. Mikey reveals that he has met Izana before. Draken speculates that Izana may be connected to Shinichiro, as he was a former Black Dragons leader, revealing to Takemichi that Shinichiro founded the Black Dragons, but tells Takemichi to keep this fact a secret. Draken concludes that Izana, the 8th generation leader, was the cause of the Black Dragons' degradation. Emma reveals that he is her older brother. Much to the shock of everyone else, Emma explains that the last time she saw her brother was right before he was institutionalized. Takemichi realizes that Izana desired to defeat Mikey. Draken suspects that the Black Dragon's attack on Kazutora was part of Izana's plan to defeat Mikey because he held a personal grudge against him. Takemichi calls Shifuyu over to his place and informs him of the information he gathered at Mikey's house. Just as he announces the start of his strategy meeting, a honk outside interrupts them. The car window rolls down, revealing the 5th Division Captain, Mucho. Stepping out of the car, Mucho greets Takemichi. As Shifuyu tells Takemichi to watch out, Toman's 5th Division steps up, restraining all of Takemichi's friends, leaving him without any allies. As Takemichi asks what's going on, Mucho repeatedly punches him in the face. With Takemichi barely unconscious, he hears Mucho mention that Izana is giving him busy work. Takemichi finds Inupe and Koko beaten and restrained to chairs. Inupe explains to a confused Takemichi that Mucho has been allied with Izana all along, as he is part of the S-62 generation. Mucho pulls a chair up and explains that the Toman's 5th Division has a unique role, serving as the Special Task Division, which enables them to engage in infighting. Calling the 5th Division the Public Morality Council, Mucho says that the 5th Division serves to punish Toman's traitors, even without Mikey's permission. Inupe speculates that Mucho believes Takemichi is a spy for Tenjiku and brought him and Koko into Toman as part of this. Mucho responds that they are getting worked up over a misunderstanding and recalls that he and Izana committed crimes together, then formed different gangs and became known as the S-62 generation. However, Izana stopped in gang activity, leaving Mikey to recruit him into Toman. He explains to Takemichi that he is a founding member of Tenjiku. Takemichi asks Mucho what he is trying to accomplish. Mucho explains that Koko is a valuable asset as he has an aptitude for money making, leaving him desirable to Izana. Mucho plans to kill Inyupe and Takamichi, which will force Koko to join Tenjiku. Mucho offers to spare Inyupe and Takamichi if Koko agrees to join Tenjiku. However, Takamichi tells Koko that he should not obey Mucho. When Mucho remarks that Takamichi has no chance of winning a fight against him, although he was still restrained, Takamichi charged at Mucho. After being unconscious for a while, Takamichi finds himself atop a pile of garbage along with Inyupe, remembering what transpired in their fight against Mucho. After hearing Takamichi's words, Inyupe tells him that he will help Takamichi fight Mucho. As they rush at Mucho, he remarks to Koko that they will die unless he chooses to join Tenjiku. Just as Mucho prepares to punch Inyupe, Koko begs for him to stop, promising to do whatever is required of him. At a toman meeting between Mikey and the members of the 1st Division, Inyupe chuckles to himself, remarking that he never thought he would wear Toman's uniform. After Mikey learns of Mucho's betrayal, Takamichi vows that the 1st Division will devote itself to rescuing Koko. Mikey asks Inyupe when he suspects Tenjiku will stage their attack. Inyupe says tomorrow on February the 22nd. Mikey orders them to gather all of Toman for a pep rally in preparation. Meanwhile, Kikucho forcefully tells Izana he disagrees with his plan, asking why he would trust Hanma and Kisaki. Izana tells him to shut up, as he sees no other way to defeat Toman. Draken announces that Tenjiku will attack Toman today. They need to put forth their best effort, as Tenjiku will likely fight underhandedly. Hakai angrily demands Toman to do the same, explaining that Mitsuya and Smiley were victims of a motorcycle attack, leaving them unconscious and hospitalized. Just then, Payan revs his bike, telling them to shut up. He remarks that they are cowardly for fearing defeat. Though he understands how Akai feels after the attack on Mitsuya, he tells them to look at Mikey, as he is not smiling. Mikey acknowledges that all the captains cannot help during this battle, but they can rely on him. With their confidence renewed, Toman vows to crush Tenjiku. When morning comes, Takamichi and Inyupe visit Shinichiro's grave, where Inyupe declares Takamichi as the 11th leader of the Black Dragons. Soon after, Izana approaches them. However, Takamichi does not recognize him until Inyupe screams Izana's name, grabbing him and demanding to know what he is doing with Koko. Izana calmly reminds him that Koko chose to join Tenjiku, and he is just here to visit his brother's grave. He tells Inyupe that he does not care about him anymore, as he now has Koko. Behind them, Mikey, who is with Emma, tells Inyupe to let go. He orders Takamichi to leave with Emma. Meanwhile, Hanma sits upon a motorcycle, remarking to Kisaki that this is uncharacteristic of him to get his hands dirty. Holding a bat, Kisaki responds that he cannot leave this deed to anyone else. From a distance, Emma and Takamichi watch the graveyard. She asks aloud why the boys have to fight all the time, saying that Mikey has always retained a strong exterior as a gang leader. However, she says he is just a child, unable to sleep without his old blanket. Emma vows to save Mikey, just like how he saved her. Takamichi realizes that Emma is the only person who can understand and support Mikey. Emma asks Takamichi if he wants a drink from the vending machine. As he tries to remember if Emma exists in the future, Kisaki and Hanma ride towards them. After Takamichi and Emma buy their drinks, they see a motorcycle riding straight towards him. In the passenger seat, Kisaki screams as he speeds past Takamichi, narrowly avoiding him, and strikes Emma with a bat. Still processing what just occurred, Takamichi sees Emma on the ground. In shock, he realizes Kisaki was targeting Emma. Before driving away, Kisaki tells Takamichi that it is over. As he cradles Emma's motionless body, he realizes everything he has tried to change thus far has been for nothing, as Emma is the key to saving Mikey. Crying, he begs her to wake up, as he cannot save her if she dies in the past. Hearing the commotion, Mikey approaches them and sees Emma on the ground. Mikey asks what happened, and Takamichi explains that Emma was hit in a drive-by biker attack perpetrated by Teta Kisaki. Mikey tells Takamichi to set Emma on his back as they walk to the hospital. Mikey asks if she remembers the last time he carried her. When she was 5, she broke her leg chasing him. Emma begins to instruct Mikey on what to do if something happens to her, requesting Mikey to tell Draken that she loves him. As her eyes well up with tears, Emma tells a crying Takamichi to take care of Mikey for her, just before her body slumps in death. Panicked, Mikey tries to reveal to Emma that Draken has mutual feelings for her, telling her that he will call him as soon as they reach the hospital in hopes that she will wake up. However, she does not respond. Trembling, Mikey tells Takemichi to put his jacket over her as she is getting cold. Mikey is silent when Draken asks what happened. He angrily punches Mikey in the face, demanding as to why he let this happen. Takemichi begins to reason with Draken, telling him to overcome and accept the events. However, he realizes the absurdity of this, as he has been unable to accept Hina's death himself. Defeated, Takemichi knows he cannot reverse this fate. As Toman awaits their leader at the shrine, they wonder what is going on. Just then, Inupe pulls up on his motorcycle, informing them of the events. At the hospital, Mikey is still in his catatonic state, having lost the will to fight. Takemichi vows to fight Tenjiku, even if he has to face them alone. Shifuyu meets Takemichi outside of the hospital, bringing him to the shrine where Toman is waiting. They announce that Emma has died in an accident, which means neither Mikey nor Draken will be able to fight. However, he insists that they fight Tenjiku tonight, which angers Toman, causing them to turn their backs on him. Having originally planned to fight alone, he tells Shifuyu that he is going to fight Tenjiku, even if he has to do so alone. Shifuyu offers to fight alongside him, though he expects both of them to die at Tenjiku's hands. Just then, Akun exclaims to Takemichi that he is going to fight with him as well, as Takemichi never runs away from a fight, prompting Yamagishi, Makoto, and Takuya all to agree to fight with them. Shifuyu tells Toman that although the odds are against them, running away would ensure the end of Toman, leaving them with no choice but to fight. This riles up Toman. As they chant in support, Takemichi tells Shifuyu that he wants to save Emma and Baji as well, believing nothing is impossible. Not long after, footsteps announce Toman's arrival, led by Shifuyu and Takemichi. Kisaki tells Takemichi that he has been waiting, once again calling him hero. Izana points out Toman's disadvantage in the battle, as Tenjiku outnumbers Toman 400 to 50. He calls up Shion as their forerunner. Payan steps up, telling Shion to face him. He reminds Takemichi that he is the acting president of the 3rd Division. Shion interrupts Payan, saying that he can defeat all of Toman alone. Unexpectedly, Payan knocks out Shion with a single punch. After this, with Takemichi as their acting leader, Toman charges at Tenjiku to begin their fight. Takemichi shouts to Kisaki, and they both agree to settle their battle tonight. Izana watches the battle. He remarks that he is impressed. He stomps on Shion's unconscious face, remarking that the Black Dragons lost to Mikey because of Shion's weakness. Although he says he does not usually engage in revenge, Izana asks Payan to fight him. When Payan eagerly charges towards him, Izana kicks him in the face, knocking him out with a single blow. Shocked, Takemichi realizes Izana's true strength. As Takemichi charges at Kikucho, he is easily thrown to the ground. Kikucho tells him he is weak, asking if he is just talk. Takemichi tells him to let him fight Kisaki. Kikucho tells him that he will stand as an obstacle until he is defeated. Seeing Takemichi on the ground, Shifuyu rushes to assist him, but he is blocked by Mochi, who punches him, telling him not to be distracted. Meanwhile, Inupe tells Mucho to move, as he wants to talk to Koko. Just as he says this, Mucho easily overpowers Inupe. As Inupe cries out in pain, Mucho sits atop him, telling Inupe that he is defeated. Hikai and Angry attempt to back each other up in their fight against Rindo and Ran. When Hikai asks, Angry says his arm may be broken. Rindo mocks this, telling Angry he will break another additional limb. Watching this, Shifu says that since they are both the baby of the family, they are used to being pampered. Amid Hikai and Angry's argument, the Hatani brothers knock both of them to the ground, mocking them for depending on their older siblings. Laying on the ground, Hikai and Angry look for their siblings once again, but conclude that it cannot be helped. They realize their shared weaknesses and reliance on others. This motivates their drive to fight. Standing up, they prepare to face the Hatani brothers once again, charging towards them. Rindo and Ran, the brothers, easily bring the duo to the ground. As Angry remarks his older brother would have avoided Rindo's tackle, Rindo grabs a hold of his left leg, breaking it as Angry cries out in pain. As Angry crawls, barely able to move, Angry watches desperately as Rindo grabs Hakai's arm while Ran hits his face with a baton. He believes that Hakai will die from their relentless attacks and begins crying, begging the brothers to stop. Meanwhile, Smiley tells Mitsuya that Angry is a good person. Beating up others doesn't come naturally to him. However, he adds, when Angry starts crying, his nature changes, as he has the limits that cause the ogre to come out. Facing the Hitani brothers, a crying Angry tells them that they went too far. Apologizing to his older brother for breaking his promise, both Ran and Rindo are surprised to find Angry standing as his leg was broken. Smiley tells Mitsuya that as the crying blue ogre, that Angry is over 100 times stronger than himself. Rindo eagerly tackles Angry. However, much to his surprise, Angry does not budge. Angry tells him that he last cried during his 4th year of elementary school. His brother told him not to cry again, as he would become a murderer if he did so. Angry knocks out Rindo in a single punch, much to the shock of everyone around them. The Tenjiku members witness this with confusion, causing Mochi to abandon his fight with Shifuyu to fight Angry. Putting his arm around Angry, Mochi remarks that he can beat him alone, just before Angry slams Mochi's head into the ground with a punch. As he cries, Angry asks the fearful Tenjiku members who is next. Mucho steps up. Simultaneously, they grab each other's arms. However, Angry overpowers Mucho, slamming him onto the ground. As Inyupe, Shifuyu, Angry, Takamichi, and Hakai stand up, believing that they have the advantage, Mucho stands up, remembering an order Izana relayed to him. Swinging a blade, Mucho announces that he has no intention to lose. Just before he stabs Takamichi, Kikucho stands between them, grabbing Mucho's blade. Kikucho punches him, telling Mucho that he does not want him to be ruined by Tenjiku. Confused, Takamichi and his friends wonder if Kikucho is their ally. Kikucho tells Takamichi that he is not the same person he knew in elementary school. Kikucho quickly dispatches Angry, Shifuyu, and Inyupe. As he watches, Izana remarks that the other Heavenly Kings are useless in comparison. With most of Toman's members exhausted and defeated, Kikucho tells Takamichi that now he comprises Toman. Facing Kikucho, Takamichi tells him that although he has gotten stronger, he is now a member of a brutal criminal organization. Standing over Inyupe, Koko remarks that Takamichi, as well as Inyupe's dreams for the Black Dragons, will be easily defeated. Shifuyu, unable to move, panics about Takamichi's safety. Takamichi gets up again, remarking that Kikucho has not changed, as he still punches like he did when he was a child. Just as Inyupe tells Koko that Takamichi will never lose, Kikucho tells him to prepare to die, punching him again. Just as Kikucho prepares to deliver his final blow, Shifuyu leaps in between the two. Crying, he implores Takamichi to accept defeat, as no one from Toman is left standing. If Takamichi continues fighting, he will die. With his face swollen and bloody, Takamichi screams, insisting that Toman will never be defeated as long as he is there. In reaction, Kisaki tells Kikucho to move over. Asking if Takamichi has the determination to win, even if he dies, Kisaki points a gun at his head. Takamichi reflects back on his lack of fear as the encouragement and self-sacrifice of countless people. After Takamichi asks Kisaki what is holding him back, a shot rings out. However, Kisaki cannot bring himself to kill Takamichi, shooting him in the foot instead. Takamichi vows not to give up even at the cost of his death. As Kisaki holds a gun to Takamichi's head, threatening to kill him, Takamichi eggs him on, telling him it should be easy since he has already killed Emma. In response, Kisaki pulls away his gun and punches Takamichi in the face. Just then, Akun grabs him, supporting him to stand. He reminds Takamichi that he is not the type to give up. Shifuyu tells Takamichi that he is glad he took over Baji's role. Turning to Kisaki, he says that although he wants revenge for Baji's death, their battle should not become fatal. Kisaki angrily retorts that their resolve does not change the fact that Toman is losing. He then proposes that Tenjiku and Toman merge under Toman's name. Upon hearing this, Takemichi punches Kisaki in the face, telling him that he will beat him up until he understands. Takemichi prepares to punch him once again. However, Izana blocks his punch, telling Kisaki to move out of the way, as he will kill all of Toman. Takemichi tries to think of a reason as to why Mikey would turn evil. He concludes that Tenjiku's influence caused Mikey's downfall. Tearfully, he swears to protect Mikey. Just as he is about to punch Izana, Takemichi suddenly stops, having detected someone's arrival. Raising his fist in the air, he asks what took Mikey so long. He then reminds everyone of his promise not to lose. Everyone is astounded by Mikey's appearance. As Takemichi cries tears of relief, Mikey hugs him, thanking him. However, Takemichi is still concerned about Mikey, as he should not be in the right mental state. Just then, the sound of Draken's motorcycle signals his arrival. As Takemichi questions why both of them are here, Hina is revealed to be with them. Earlier, after Takemichi left the hospital, Hina requested to talk with the distraught Mikey. Hina confesses that Takemichi is trying to save a lot of people at once. She explains that she will die in 12 years, and that Takemichi came from the future to save her. Though they may not believe her, Takemichi's palpable desperation confirms this. Crying, Hina says that although Takemichi wants to save everyone, she is powerless to help him. This brings Mikey and Draken out of their despair, as they remember the numerous times Takemichi tried to save Toman. Mikey asks the Tenjiku members if they are handicapped, prompting them to angrily tell Mikey and Draken that they are the ones who are handicapped, demanding that the situation be taken more seriously. Mikey responds that Tenjiku are the ones that should take them more seriously, declaring that he can take down 20,000 men. Turning to Kisaki, Izana remarks that his plan probably did not go as expected. Suddenly, Izana rushes towards Mikey, landing a kick on his face. Just then, Mikey releases his signature kick. However, Izana blocks it just before complimenting Mikey on his skills. After this happens a third time, Takemichi realizes the true strength of Izana. Izana says that despite Mikey's impressive fighting prowess, his moves are easy to read, much to everyone's shock. Just as Izana punches Mikey once more, Mikey asks why he killed their sister. He tells Mikey he plans to kill all of Toman and shape a distraught Mikey into Shinichiro. When Mikey asks if that is the reason he killed Emma, Izana responds by delivering a kick that throws Mikey onto the ground. Standing over him, Izana says that Mikey took everything away from him, so he must kill him. While Mikey blocks Izana's kicks, he tells Izana he is wrong, as they both still have a brother. After Mikey tells Izana that he wants to save him, Izana angrily tells him to shut up, kicking him. However, Mikey avoids the attack, remarking to Izana that he is starting to miss. He then punches and kicks Izana in succession, bringing him to the ground. Izana remarks that he is finally enjoying the fight, as Mikey's power poses a formidable challenge. Mikey dodges Izana's punch and instead strikes Izana in the chest. As he rushes towards Mikey with his fist, Mikey punches him. Izana recoils from the attack and visualizes Shinichiro and Emma standing with Mikey. When Mikey tells Izana he lost, he screams, grabbing Kisaki's gun and pointing it at Mikey. Mikey asks Izana if he will lose everything after he loses the fight. Crying, Izana thinks back to his mother who abandoned him. With tears in her eyes, she told Izana to stay strong despite his solitude. Upon seeing Izana point a gun at Mikey, Takemichi calls out, telling Izana that using a gun is cheap. Izana tells Mikey to die, but Mikey is unfazed, egging on Izana, telling him to shoot. An anxious Draken implores Mikey to be careful, as Izana seems serious. Mikey continues screaming at Izana to shoot, but just then, Kikucho slaps the gun out of Izana's hand, telling Izana to accept Kenjiku's loss. Angrily, Izana demands if Kikucho, his servant, is giving advice to him, a king. Shaking Izana, Kikucho tells him that none of Tenjiku's members can win their battles, loudly repeating that Tenjiku has lost. As Izana screams for him to shut up, Kisaki suddenly shoots Kikucho in the chest, splattering blood on Izana's face and remarking that he is annoying. When Kikucho lunges at Kisaki, Kisaki fires his gun, telling Kikucho to die. Unexpectedly, Izana leaps in front of the stream of bullets, protecting Kikucho to the shock of everyone, including Kisaki, who falls to the ground in surprise. Lying on the ground, Kikucho asks Izana what he is doing next to him. Izana tells him that his body just moved on its own. As he is dying, Izana says he wants to tell Mikey something. He remarks that Tenjiku has lost, and Kikucho tells him that he does not have to say it, as it has already been announced. Crying, Kikucho asks Izana why he protected him, as he is worthless, while Izana is a king who wanted to build a new era. Izana corrects him, telling Kikucho that it was this era. Smiling, he says that Kikucho is the only person he has. Izana asks Mikey if he wanted to save him, and Mikey responds saying that he did, as Izana is his brother. Izana reveals to Mikey that he is not blood related to anyone. Crying, he tells Mikey that there is no way to save him, and as he dies, he utters Emma's name. Upon seeing Izana's motionless body, Kikucho cries. Grasping his hand, he tells Izana that he will not be alone in death, as he will be joining him soon. Upon seeing Kikucho and Izana motionless, Mikey announces the end of the Toman Tenjiku dispute, turning his attention to Kisaki. Mikey tells him he will never be forgiven. Just then, Hanma rides up on his motorcycle, grabbing Kisaki and escaping. As Takemichi powerfully watches them ride away, Draken tells Takemichi to get on his bike to chase them down. As he and Takemichi gain ground on Hanma and Kisaki, Draken vows to catch them. On Hanma's bike, Kisaki implores him to drive faster. Suddenly, Hanma loses control of the bike, throwing him and Kisaki to the ground. When Kisaki looks up, he finds Takemichi standing over him. Kisaki instantly runs away, and when Takemichi tries chasing him, the pain of his foot overwhelms him. Draken pulls him up, ordering Takemichi to get on his back. Just then, Hanma catches up to the pair, swinging a metal pipe at Draken. Although Draken counters the attack, he is now preoccupied with fighting Hanma. As Takemichi chases Kisaki around the corner, Kisaki attacks his head with a brick, but Takemichi punches Kisaki in response. Takemichi ends up chasing Kisaki into a parking lot where they punch each other in quick succession. As they both catch their breath, Takemichi notes that he recognizes the area. Takemichi tells Kisaki to give up and accept their loss, saying that all he does is manipulate and use others, unable to do anything by himself. While headbutting Takemichi, Kisaki explains that a perfect plan is the way to achieve his goals. As Takemichi leaps upon Kisaki, he asks if the perfect plan was intended to defeat him. They wrestle in the parking lot with Kisaki ending up on top. He angrily says that he is supposed to be the dark hero. Strangling Takemichi, Kisaki says that all his plans started perfectly, but there was someone who always ruined them. Takemichi kicks Kisaki away from him. He explains that he remembers when he was last at the parking lot. Standing in front of a fire, he had sworn to become the top of Toman. Takemichi tells Kisaki that the parking lot was where Kisaki killed Hina in the future. He tells Kisaki that they will settle their time-leaping battle. Upon hearing this, Kisaki remarks that his suspicions are confirmed. Takemichi is a time leaper. Suddenly, a scene depicting Kisaki and Hina appears in Takemichi's mind. Takemichi asks what Kisaki's involvement with Hina is, as he killed Hina in every timeline. Hearing this, Kisaki solemnly says that he failed. Visualizing the future scene, Takemichi sees Kisaki proposing to Hina. However, she apologizes, turning him down. Before Takemichi can finish comprehending this, Kisaki points a gun at him, telling Takemichi that their fate ends now. Pointing his gun at Takemichi, Kisaki demands to know why Takemichi always thwarts his plans and how many times he has leaped. When Takemichi asks if he killed Hina after her rejections, this enrages Kisaki, who insists that Hina belongs to him. All of a sudden, Takemichi kicks the gun out of Kisaki's hand and grabs it, pointing it at Kisaki. He tells Kisaki that it should have been him holding the gun from the beginning, before telling Kisaki to die. Takemichi points a gun at Kisaki, prepared to shoot, as he believes he can save Hina by killing him. Just then, Hina and Mikey show up to the scene. With Takemichi briefly distracted by Hina's shouts, Kisaki takes this opportunity to run. As Takemichi chases after him, he tells Kisaki that it is over, as no one will trust him anymore, in which Kisaki responds, saying that he can start over again, swearing to make Hina his someday. Takemichi says he will not let that happen, telling Kisaki that he will not even let him time leap again. Upon hearing this, Kisaki stops in the middle of a crosswalk, asking if Takemichi still thinks that he is a time leaper. Takemichi is surprised by this fact, but before Kisaki can explain, a truck crashes into him. After he is struck by the truck, Kisaki lays in the intersection. When he tried to get up, his mangled body prevented him from doing so. Screaming at his agony and powerlessness, Kisaki says that he does not want to die. As his body becomes motionless, Mikey and Hina catch up, with Mikey asking what happened. With Kisaki's death, the Kanto incident ends. The remaining S62 members are arrested, while the 3 deaths are Emma Sano, Izana Kudakawa, and Teta Kisaki. The participants of the Kanto incident are left to somberly reflect on the events. So that there officially brings us to the end of the Tenjiku arc. And well, it's an absolutely insane way to end an awesome arc if you ask me. Be sure to comment down below what your favourite or saddest part of this arc was, if it was the death of Emma, Izana or Kisaki. Was it the moment Mikey showed up and professed that he could take down 20,000 men? If so, then be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. And as I said at the beginning of the video, this is directly taken from my entire Tokyo Revengers video explained, so if you want to find out what happens from here on out, then be sure to go and check out that video, which I will leave a link to down below. If not, then don't worry, as I will be releasing the Bonten part or part 3 in the following weeks. But anyway, enough of that. If you have enjoyed the video and want to keep up to date with the latest Tokyo Revengers content and just other anime content in general, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and also be sure to leave a like on the video, as it really helps out with the algorithm and pushes my stuff to a bunch of new amazing people. But anyway, enough of that. For now, it's been your professional degenerate, Diavolo, and I'll see you all in a bit. Bye.